Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's the Friday NFL edition. And like every Friday, I'm joined by the guy they call the Iceman, Mr. Jesse Schule of jesseschule.com. Jesse, how's my buddy doing?
Doing great, Ross. I'm really looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to the World Cup, looking forward to some winter football and some bad weather.
There you go. Well, there is some this week, as we well know. We discussed this on yesterday's show. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills game, like I predicted yesterday morning, did get moved to Detroit. So it's going indoors because of all the snow that's predicted in the greater Buffalo area, specifically in the Orchard Park region where the game was scheduled to be played. But in any event, yeah, you got to account for weather at this time of the year in the NFL, Jesse.
Absolutely. I've had some success recently in college with just betting unders in games with wind over 15 miles per hour. Seems to be a pretty good bet these days.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Western Michigan and Central Michigan game earlier this week in college football. There had to be 5 or 6 inches of snow on the field, and as we saw, it's tough to get any kind of offensive continuity going. I mean, the running game obviously takes a big precedence, and that game ended up 11-10, which speaks to your point.
And everybody knows that midweek MAC games are usually high scoring.
Right.
So the books were reluctant to drop that number down.
Yep.
I ended up taking all 3 unders in all 3 games that night. Of course, 2 of the 3 went under, so it was a profitable move. I was happy with that.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, buddy. There's a song like that. Meatloaf, yes. So we'll take 2 out of 3 today, tomorrow, yesterday, and every day going forward. And when that happens, we're on an island all by ourselves with a frozen drink in our hand and a harem fanning you, like Jesse does, unlike the rest.
Yeah, it sounds like you're describing my life there, Ross.
In any event, the World Cup coming up. I know it's a football show, but there's a different kind of football, as they call it in Europe and everywhere else beside the United States and Canada for that reason. But, the U.S. and Canada involved in the World Cup. We were talking off air. I'm always going to be squeezing for the U.S. to do well. But I was telling Jesse, I think that Canada, I like their chances a heck of a lot more to get to the round of 16 than I do the U.S. Number one, because they've looked better over the last 6 months. Number two, they're more experienced with a couple of world-class players. Davies, for example, great player for Canada. And the U.S., the youngest, I believe they're when it comes to average age, will be the youngest team in the 32-team field at the World Cup. So, what's your thoughts? So,
did you know that Canada beat Japan yesterday?
No, I did not. In a friendly.
That's a big win. I mean,
considering
Japan's
Japan,
a world-class team, right? So
yeah,
you get a win over Japan, that's a big win.
Yeah, and Japan beat the U.S. About
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 weeks ago. So there you go in comparison. So, I mean, like the Canada group, I know is tough, but like I was telling you off air, I think Belgium could be had. That golden era. Now these guys are in their 30s, mid 30s, which is by soccer standards or football standards, old. So your thoughts there, and does the U.S., in your opinion, have a chance to get to the round of 16 in that group with England, Wales, and Iran?
I think it would be a surprise, Ross, if the U.S. had any success at all. They didn't look good in the qualifying matches. They don't have a lot of recognizable players, unless somebody steps up and surprises us, something that we're not expecting.
Yeah.
They really look like an inferior team at this point. So yeah, I wouldn't have high expectations as an American fan.
Canada?
They're in a really tough group, but they've looked phenomenal as in qualifying.
Yeah.
They've beaten the likes of Mexico, U.S. They've played with big teams. They have it out for. They have their work cut out for them, though. I mean, Croatia went to the finals in the last World Cup, and Belgium's got some of the most talented players in the world. They are a little older, but Kevin De Bruyne is still probably the best midfielder in the game. It's going to be tough slogging for Canada, but they'll probably get at least one surprise result, I think.
So if for those who are interested, and to keep it simple, if you're comfortable doing so, is there a sleeper pick or a favorite pick that you like in terms of winning it all?
I'm still working on that. What I will say about that, Ross, is I think you got to look at the groups, and you got to look at the bracket and how the bracket figures. And the best team isn't the best bet if the best team has to go through other good teams.
Yeah.
And when you look at the bracket, you might have a team that's just, one of the top 5 or 6 teams, but they've got an easier path. I think that's the way I would bet it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The only thing I'm pissed off about, for lack of a better phrase, is the fact that they're going head to head with football season, and that had to be done because Qatar, what a real controversial decision to award Qatar the World Cup #1, and then because of the heat in Qatar during the summer months. The World Cup usually is a July and August event, and it's not going head to head with anything beside Major League Baseball. And now, you got all the major mainstream sports going on in the U.S., in Canada. Outside of North America, though, it doesn't matter. They don't care. You know what I mean? Because this is going to be all eyes on the World Cup. They can care less, most anyway, about the NFL and college football, college basketball, the NHL, etc. So it'll be interesting, and I hope I can find enough time in my work schedule, and I know you're busy as well, Jesse, to view some of the games. I look forward to it. I look forward to it every 4 years. Anyway, Jesse, today NFL, we're going to be covering something different here, folks. We normally don't cover the primetime games because it's only a standalone game. It's all by itself. And I usually don't want to ask a handicapper or myself to put a pick out on those games since it's the only game in that particular window of time, whether it be a Sunday night game. And then, of course, on Monday and Thursday, it's a standalone game. So, but we're going to do it. And Jesse's going to take a look at the Chiefs and the Chargers game that was flexed from its 4:25 scheduled start to an 8:20 game because originally they had Cincinnati and Pittsburgh scheduled for the Sunday night game, and they moved it, which I'm glad. And I'm going to take a look at San Fran in Arizona, which is going to be played at Azteca Stadium in Mexico City, Mexico. Talk about a World Cup or world venue for soccer. That's where Mexico plays the majority of their home games when it comes to international play. Anyway, Jesse, take it away. Tell us about your game, the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers.
Well, I love this game, Ross. I love the fact that you asked me to cover this game because this is a game that I definitely want to watch. I want to be tuning in. I just love seeing Justin Herbert go up against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. I'm sure you're well aware of the history between these two teams. Classic back and forth games, usually high scoring. The Chargers are 5-1 against the spread in the last 6 head-to-head in this series. And we've seen some great moments from Herbert. I think you and I spoke about it the first matchup this season when Herbert got injured, and he had that rib injury, and they were on a late drive at the end of the game, and I had the Chargers needed to cover the spread. We needed one more touchdown to get the cover, and I believe it was like a 3rd and inches, and Herbert could have scrambled across and got the first down. He was so injured, he just threw the ball into the turf and walked off like he was never going to play again.
Yeah, it was a head scratcher.
And then he comes back out, and on 4th down, he throws like a 40-yard bomb and gets us the cover like a hero, right? And that is those are the kind of moments you expect from Justin Herbert against the Chiefs. That was this year. Last year, he threw for 517 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick. on 48 of 76 passing with a 104 passer rating. He's got their number. He gets up for these games. Maybe he likes playing against Patrick Mahomes. The good news for him is Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are back at practice. No word on whether or not they're going to play. They've been questionable for the last 3-4 weeks. But I'm hopeful that at least one of those guys is going to come back and give him another option at wide receiver. The defense, though, for the Chargers is decimated. I mean, they've been losing guys left and center. Two defensive linemen gone this week. So if the Chargers are going to hang with the Chiefs, it's going to probably be a shootout, which leads me to believe that I like both the over and I like the home dog plus the 5 points.
Wow.
And that's the way I want to play it.
So you're going with the San Diego, the LA Chargers plus the 5. And you also like the game to go over the total of 52. There you have it, folks. You got 2 picks. And if you remember last week, Sean Higgs gave you 2 picks, a side and a total on the same game, won both. By the way, folks, over the last 5+ weeks now, our free picks on this channel are hitting around 64% combined. That's with everybody. So I personally have gone 16-9 over the last 5 weeks, 64%. And that included me going 2-3 last week. Jesse, I believe you cashed in again last week with your free picks. So we're doing awfully well on this channel, which takes me to this, folks. I don't know if you're viewing this video right now and you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel. Please ask yourself why you haven't subscribed yet. Number 1, it's absolutely free. Everybody likes free. Number 2, world-class handicappers. Jesse Schule, Ross Benjamin, Big Al McMorty, Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, Sean Higgs, who's having a phenomenal NFL season.
Sean Higgs, somebody should ask him to pee in a cup. They should do some DNA tests to make sure he's human.
Yeah.
What that guy's doing right now?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since I was doing it like a month ago.
You know what's most impressive about that? He's doing it by releasing a volume of plays. He's not just hitting a high percentage and averaging maybe 4 to 5 picks a week. He averages anywhere from 7 to 10 picks a week in the NFL, and he's hitting an enormous win percentage and making an enormous amount of money. So kudos to him. You could find him at picksandparleys.net. Again, you could find Jesse there as well as myself at picksandparleys.net. You could also find both me and Jesse at sportsmemo.com. You could find Jesse at jesseschule.com, his own website, and my own website, rbwins.com. That's rbwins.com. Since Monday at Sports Memo, I've gone 12-3. And that I told you I had a rough weekend in college football, and the NFL is going to bounce back, and I have. In college basketball last night, Jesse, a 3-0 sweep. So feeling good there. All right, let's take a look at my game, and that's the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. That game will take place at Azteca Stadium, like I just alluded to, in Mexico City. So a neutral site game. And folks, they've been playing games there for the last few seasons now. And my recollection of Azteca Stadium, when NFL games are played there, is the field gets chewed up about between the first and second quarter because they're just not used to football games being played. And the people in Mexico there aren't going to adjust the turf just for one football game a year because that's a soccer-based stadium. Anyway, Arizona quarterback situation, a little unclear as Colt McCoy is day-to-day right now. Turned in a fine performance last week in that win. And also Kyler Murray, the starting quarterback, still listed as questionable with a hamstring injury. I would say that it's more likely we're going to see McCoy in this game than Murray, since he's day-to-day, and Murray's just listed as questionable, but you never know. But it doesn't matter for me. It's not going to affect how I play this game. This is the first meeting of the season between these division rivals. The last 2 years have seen these teams play 3-1 to the under with an average combined score of just 37.8 points per game. This San Francisco defense is outstanding. They've allowed 308 yards or fewer in 8 of 9 games this year. The only exception to that rule is the game against Kansas City. And Kansas City can make the best of defenses look bad, and they certainly did in that instance. So you take away that Kansas City game, and this has been a shutdown defense. Arizona, by the way, they played 4-0 to the over in their last 4 games. However, you look inside the numbers, and the points they scored doesn't match up to the yards gained. And they've been beneficiaries of a lot of turnovers over the last 4 games, either creating a short field or scoring defensively, because when you look inside those numbers, they're only averaging 312.8 yards per game during that 4-game stretch in which all of those went over the total. San Francisco this year, 6-2 through the under, whenever the total is 45.5 or less. This current total right now is 43.5. And Arizona, since 2020, in all games not played on their home field, have gone 16-6 to the under. A lot of people would be surprised by that because you think of Kyler Murray and some of the great weapons they've had on the outside over the last few years, and you would think they were an overplay for the most part, but that hasn't been the case, especially so when they don't play at home. So I'm going to go under the total here, Jesse. I'm going to take the Arizona-San Francisco game to go under 43.5. And by the way, folks, if you're interested in my NFL betting angles from my 4D handicapping database, here's one for you that applies to this total. Any NFL team like San Francisco with a total of 42.5 to 49, coming off a home win in which they failed to cover like the 49ers have done. They were off a 22-16 win against the Chargers, failed to cover as an 8-point home favorite, and they allowed 29 points or fewer in that game, which they obviously did, and they're facing an opponent off an away underdog straight-up win like Arizona. They defeated the LA Rams on the road, and they scored 33 points or less in that contest. And Arizona did so in that game, 34-4 to the under, 89.5%, large sample size, and all since 1984. So it's survived the test of time. Again, I'm going under Arizona, San Francisco, under 43.5. Jesse Schule, he's on the LA Chargers, +5 in the LA Chargers and Kansas City game to go over the total of 52. Jesse, some final words on how you've been doing of late, what you got coming up, and where you prefer the folks find you.
Well, Ross, we talked about my hot start with football. I ran into a bit of trouble when college basketball and NBA started up, perhaps got a little overwhelmed, but still hitting at a 60% clip with football, 70 and 45 overall for the season so far. Can't be disappointed with that by any means. And yeah, I've got a full card scheduled for Friday and Saturday. We've got college basketball, World Cup. We got the Grey Cup coming up this weekend. I'm covering all those sports. So great value if you go to jesseschule.com and sign up for a long-term subscription.
jesseschule.com, 70-45 this football season with his college and NFL combined. That's absolutely phenomenal, folks. We talk about Sean Higgs. Jesse's right there as well. And again, you could find him at jesseschule.com, sportsmemo.com, picksandparleys.net, sportscapping.com, and you could find me at all those sites as well. And you could also find me at rbwins.com. I'm hitting 57% in the NFL this season with my regular season picks. My NFL 10-star top plays, 9-2 for the year. Also, my college basketball coming off a 3-0 sweep last night in college basketball. 3 winners that won extremely easy. Charleston, Indiana State, and Cal Baptist, +7. The Baptist, baby. They won outright at Washington. So things are heating up. The NBA, 48-34 since last year. And that's good for 59% as well. So a lot of good things happening. jesseschule.com, rbwins.com. Visit us there, folks. Spend a little money to make a lot of money. Until the next time, for Jesse Schule and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Good luck and God bless, folks.